Hi everyone, and welcome to this Brainwave GRC and Imakumo webinar. Today we'll be talking about GDPR compliance and how the joint offering ServiceNow and Brainwave Identity GRC can help you accelerate and maintain your GDPR compliance in a very easy way. So this webinar will be presented by Damien Besson, our product evangelist at Brainwave GRC, as well as Thomas Paoli, pre-sales at Imakumo. If you are encountering any audio issue or other issue, please use the question box at the top right of your screen, and of course, use it for any question along the webinar. In terms of agenda, we're going to see that right away, how the webinar is going to be structured. First, very short presentations of the two companies. Second, very fast sort of synthesis of what GDPR is all about, and especially the compliance process, since we're getting very close to the deadline. Third, the presentation of this joint offering, ServiceNow and the Brainwave Identity GRC solution. And last, of course, the very important demo part. Damien and Thomas, please continue.
Okay. So just a few words about Brainwave GRC. So Brainwave GRC has been created 8 years ago and is a leading software vendor specialized in identity analytics and intelligence. We provide a turnkey solution for auditing and the control of user access rights. And so that our focus, in fact, is to protect your company assets wherever they may be located against all types of fraud risks, data loss, data thefts, and cyber criminality. So currently we have more than 60 clients worldwide, which represents around 3 million governed individuals with around 1 billion controlled access around the world. We also, with the solutions, you can also conduct reviews, and currently we have about 1,000 reviews that are operated each month with the solution. So we have a very strong partner network. We have more than 20 partners around the world, and we also work closely with ServiceNow on some joint offering regarding identity and access management, and also GDPR, which is the subject today. So Thomas, I'll let you present ServiceNow and Imakumo.
Hello everyone, my name is Thomas Paoli. I'm a pre-sales at Imakumo. Imakumo, as its name doesn't suggest, is a French company founded in 2010 by Johan Terrier and Vincent Guionac. This company has joined Atos last October. Long story short, both of our founders' wives are Asians, and they decided to make a work play with Imakumo, Ima meaning cloud, and now, and Kumo meaning cloud. So cloud now, basically in English, which is the vision of the company, being a pure player with ServiceNow since its beginning. This company has known big growth for the last 7 years, as you can see on the right-hand side. It's composed of around 160 consultants for over 200 customers today. We've been involved in more than 60% of the French ServiceNow projects, either taking it from A to Z or just involved in specific parts. We are also the first ServiceNow trainers in Europe, and are dedicated to deliver official and non-official trainings and certifications for ServiceNow. We are also based, as you can see, mainly in Europe, but also in Asia, which makes us 24/7 support for all the ServiceNow projects and maintenance. Now let's talk of GDPR and have a quick look. So you may have multiple positions and coming from multiple domains, either from IT, from legal, etc. So we're gonna here just put the basis of what is GDPR and where we are coming from in terms of joint offering with Brainwave and ServiceNow. So GDPR at a glance, what is GDPR? It's the General Data Protection Regulation. It's basically a new framework for data protection laws. It replaces a directive that has been in place since 1992. It's composed of 99 articles and a bit more than 1,000 quotes, which are 80% of new requirements. Any organization that has personal data of EU citizens must comply to this regulation, either they're based in Europe or outside Europe. The deadline or the starting line, I should say, for this GDPR is 25th of May of this year, of 2018. In terms of risk, if not complying, as all regulations, heavy fines are planned. And as you can imagine, mediatic bad publicity could be done on your company. Talking about bad advertisement, we've seen that from a recent study that around 93% of the large organizations have experienced a security breach, which makes losses between 600 and a bit more than €1 million. What we've seen is that these companies have too much data and not enough controls. As an example, Uber last year dropped kind of a big news, saying that they were involved in a data breach of around 57 million of their user accounts, where they decided to pay the hackers instead of saying it to the public right away. Today, thanks or because of all the media and the fast news, this kind of information is known very, very quickly and can impact your company. So here is the 12 steps that all the companies involved in GDPR need to take. This is a standard step guide provided by the ICO, talking about basically the awareness of the regulation, so all the communication that needs to be made inside and outside companies, so to your customers and to your employees. It needs to make sure that the information you hold is known and controlled. This is one of the parts that we are going to see today. We are also going to discuss about the 5th steps about subject access request, because as you may know, multiple things need to be put in place, which is a register of processing activities. So who's doing what with personal data from people. Ensure that the employees or the people that you are gathering information on can request on this data. So request for information, request for modification, or even deletion. And the last part would be to make sure that you can communicate any data breach within 72 hours after detection. So the recording of all processing activities is basically the cornerstone of the GDPR today for you. And its goal is to make sure you are keeping records as an accountability instrument. and keeping records as a source of information in terms of audits. So multiple points need to be taken in account in this recording, which, as I started to explain, is firstly, who is going to process data, who is going to hold it, how this data is going to be secured, to whom is it going to be sent, retention of the data, how long is it going to be kept, and how it is going to be kept. We have a particular slide in this presentation that will be made available to you afterward with a bit more details, but we are not going to talk about that right now. I'll show you during the demonstration. So based on these different aspects of the GDPR, Brainwave GRC and Imakumo with ServiceNow, we decided to build a joint offering in order to make sure that you, as maybe already owners of ServiceNow, can have a project quickly built and quickly in place, so you can make sure that you are compliant with the GDPR. So we've built our joint offering that can assess on 5 points, which is first keeping records, as I'm going to show you. We are going to use ServiceNow as a platform using what is called a custom app. It's basically a business application that we build on the platform ServiceNow using all the powerful engines provided by the platform. It will make sure you can record all your processing activities, make sure you can use your portal to ensure your employees can request any information on their data. It will also be able to use all the data you have already inside your instance, and make sure you can use also the strong reporting engine to follow up and increase your compliance to GDPR. The second phase will be more focused on Brainwave GRC. So Damien?
Yes, so with Brainwave GRC, in fact, you will automate the inventory of personal data access. So you will be able to identify who has access to personal data, to understand why they have access to this data. You will be able to check and monitor the changes of these access rights on a continuous way. And you will be able to automate all the controls in order to identify abnormal situations with regards to these access rights. For example, do I have some leavers who still have access to some personal data, or do I have maybe on a more technical way, do I have a shared folder that has been configured with public access by mistake, etc., etc. So you will be able to check all the access rights to the personal data with regards also to the HR context, because Brainwave GRC allows to import all the information about the HR organizations, the HR job titles, etc., etc., so that you will be able to check if the access is legitimate with regards to the people responsibilities. So this is the step 2 that will allow you to understand and limit who sees data and access in your organizations.
Then to go beyond on the third part, we can take up with the suite GRC within ServiceNow, that is governance and risk control, to make sure you can apply policies such as GDPR and ensure that all your projects, services that you deliver can comply with the GDPR. Another suite, which is security operations, can ensure that all data breaches on your systems are monitored and supervised within ServiceNow. Make sure that you follow up and take actions on any incidents or any of these data breaches. And thanks to the workflow engine, ensure that you can communicate and push notifications to the people that have to report the data breach within the 72 hours. And as I said at the beginning, you will also be able to use the platform for its portal and give access to your employees and people that have their data owned by you to request access on this kind of data.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. So a few words on the way it works. So we will regarding Brainwave GRC. So you will be able to import into the Brainwave GRC solution all the context information regarding HR data. So you will get identities in your company, organizations, etc. You will also get all the information about the access rights to your assets. And you will get also from ServiceNow all the information about the processing activities that we will directly import into a Brainwave GRC. This will be done automatically on a regular basis. It could be every month, for instance, or every week. So that you will be able to follow up the evolution of your processing activities access. In fact, all this data will be stored in an extensible agnostic data model, which will allow you to enrich the data, to add information about owners of the data, classifications, informations, etc. All this information will be made available through a web portal with some reports, ready-to-use reports, that will allow you to review on a regular basis all the access, and also to identify all the abnormal situations, such as some security risks situations or some quality also issues. And finally, with the fourth and fifth modules, you will be able to orchestrate the reviews on the people that can access to processing activities. So these two modules are based on the workflow engines that is in the Brainwave GRC solution. So I think we can go further with some demonstration.
Of course, let's switch to the demonstration right now. I think you can now see my screen. Okay, so first entry point of this GDPR demonstration in ServiceNow is that we have built a model based on the French organization called CNIL that provided all publicly a canvas with all the different information that need to be recorded for processing activities. So we've built that inside the custom apps from ServiceNow. And we have also built this portal in order to make sure that both people that need to access and request on their information can have access and follow up thanks to the portal and all the platform system, and also for all the people that need to manage the data processing activities. So with this portal, I will be able, based on my profile, to either do a subject access request, report on a data breach. I will be able to make sure that DPIA are done, so data protection impact assessments for processing activities. I will obviously be able to create a new record of processing activity that we will just go into afterward. I will also be able to do the follow-up of all the activities that need to be done as part of this process. Let's remind us that ServiceNow provides a platform of workflows. So all my activities will be processed the same way and in an organized way. I'll be able, through this portal, also to provide a glossary of all the GDPR vocabulary, because most probably 60 or 70% of the people involved for data protection are not very keen with all this vocabulary, with the particular wording. We'll also be able to provide guides for people to make sure that they follow the workflow and the process that will be dedicated and decided as part of your company and your environment. And I can also link link people to external resources. As you can see on the right-hand side, I can also indicate to people who are my key people that I need to talk to as a DPO or the GDPR support team. Another way to present, in a very simple way to present my portal with a few logos. So as you can see, the portal is up to you, and you can be very imaginative and creative in the way you want to present information. So let's go right into it and create a new processing activity. So here we enter a standard form within ServiceNow, where I can have multiple types of fields that can be dynamic, that can be list, whatever you need can be done, as the tool is pretty flexible. So here I can declare the type of my new processing activity. So I can either use a new type of declaration, a new type of processing activity, or I can use what we call a master. You will see afterward that something that can be of use if I have to record multiple processing activities as part of HR, for example. These processing activities can have common information. So I may want to skip a few steps and use what already has been done. So here we're going to take a new declaration. I'm going to name the data controller. So let's take the example today for HR recruitment. So we are going to have for that one the group Imakumo as the data controller. It will pop up on a data protection officer that will be responsible for this processing activity. So here I'm going to take, for example, here Camille. The business owner department for this processing activity, as this is recruitment, I will check on HR. I can then check on the family that I need to join to my processing activity. So HR again. Here I will list the purpose of this recruitment. So I will use data for career management. but I will also use it for HR and events, and most probably for recruitment. These tags can be very useful for you in terms of reporting. So you will be able with the reporting engine to report on all the processing activities that are tagged, for example, for career management. And here I will enter a short description for my processing activities. And I will submit my new processing activity. Thanks to the workflow engine, I will enter a more complex form where I will have to enter all the information as part of this processing activity. So as you can see on the top part of the screen, I am now in the status draft as an author, and the workflow will pursue its life cycle with waiting for approval from the business owner, then waiting for approval from the DPO, and will then be able to be published. Once published, it could be archived or modified with a new version. We of course manage the versions of the processing activities. Most probably, you will have to maintain that, and that's the whole point of having it in a tool like ServiceNow, is that a processing activity can evolve in time. You may have to change the tool, to upgrade it, to manage more or less information. So you will be able to modify your processing activities. So here on the bottom side, you will see multiple tabs that are a replication of the canvas from the CNIL, asking me to complete all the data controller and processors for this particular activity. So here the data controller, as we put previously, is the Imakumo group, but I can have a joint data controller. So I can pop up all the list of organization or subsidiaries. Here, I will use the same recruitment activity for the software edition subsidiary called Atlantic Buffet. For the internal data processor, I will do the same and be able to put, for example, Imakumo France as part of the data processor of my recruitment activity. HR is already ticked out, and I will now select the business owner and responsible for this processing activity, being here Mathieu Poula. The data protection officer for this processing activity is Camille, as we previously selected it. Now we go on the purpose of our processing activities, already filled in with the previous information. So we are still in the family HR for career management, HR and events, and recruitment. We can have also what we call sub-purposes, depending of the first level of purpose that we've selected. The legal basis for the processing data is a full list, being either on consent, compliance with legal obligation, legitimate interest of the data controller, performance of a contract, or protection of the vital information of the data subject. So here we'll select consent. And as I move forward, as you can see, I will have different information that needs to be filled in. So let's go to some very interesting one, being all the categories of the personal data. We are in GDPR, so this is the main concern for us. Here, identification data, nothing has been filled in yet. So let's go for identification of data. So here, yes, I'm using identification of data. So let's select the data that I'm using for the people. Here, I am taking away the address of the people, their gender, the name, maybe a picture, and their phone number. And I will select all this information. Of course, if I have a new data to be added in this list, I can add it directly and freely. I will now update this record as part of this processing activity. As you can see, it changes live and tells you that yes, you have identification data for this processing activities, being the one that we just selected. It works exactly the same way with the other categories, so I'm not going to show you for each one of them, but I'm going to show you a bit more about the sensitive data, because of course the GDPR also tackles the data that are sensitive, and for example, the racial origins. If, for example, I take the racial origin of someone in part of my recruitment, I will be required to explain the details of the data I will be recording and why I will be recording it. And again, as long as I update the record, it will stack and explain directly the data that is recorded. I have also a tab about retention of information in order to make sure that I declare correctly which data is kept, how long, where, and how. I will also be able to manage the individual right, which is the right of access of information, the right to modify, the right to be forgotten. And these rights can be converted to items on the portal, as I showed you at the very beginning during the subject access request. And I will also be able, for example, to go for security, external data processors. So if my data is hosted externally by a third party, I will have to put it here in the register of my processing activity. Of course, as I said, ServiceNow is a platform. So if you are already using it for IT or for facilities, for HR, and you already have information in it about your external data providers, we will be able to use the same list, which can be very handy for you. And as I said at the very beginning, we are also being able to manage the versions that will be updated each time we have to modify this record. Now let's go back to my service portal and show you that I can have access and can see all the processing activities that I have in my recording right now. So here I see what we call a standard list of items in ServiceNow that I can kind of say I can play with using direct filtering, using the right click. So I can see, for example, all the HR using show matching. And it will give me all the HR processing activity that I have in my recording. I will also be able to see very quickly what's the status of all the processing activities that I have in order to supervise and make sure that actions are taken to have published processing activities in time. And of course, I can enter directly into my processing activities to see the information that is stored. On top of that, I will also be able to manage all the attachments and add information on top of my processing activity. A good example it could be the contract or the letter of engagement that you have with your third party that will be hosting or processing activities outside of your company or outside of your infrastructure. To finish on the ServiceNow part, as I said, ServiceNow holds a very powerful reporting engine, and you will be able to overview the status and the evolution of your GDPR compliance using the reporting capabilities of ServiceNow. This is an example of a dashboard you could have in order to do that job. So here I'm able to see the GDPR approvals that I have to do, the DPIA that I need to work on. So these are the assessments. All my processing activities. I'm able to see also the ones that are active based on their status using all the reporting. And that concludes the GDPR part for ServiceNow. I will now hand over to Damien.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. So you've seen with Thomas that you can complement your processing activities registry with ServiceNow, and we will see how you can compare this registry to the real, I would say, the real life to who can access what, in fact, in your organizations. So to begin, I just have a first dashboard here. That is the dashboard of Jamie Robertson. And he can have an overview on all his accounts and his applications and unstructured data that he has access to. So he can follow up on this data if there is any changes, and he can also ask for removal. And then by creating a ticket through ServiceNow, the access will be able to be revoked. So you have a full overview, a 360 overview on all your access rights when you connect to the Bueno GRC interfaces. But you can go further, and here I'm connected as so Jamie, who is a security operator, so he can also browse through all the information that have been imported into Brainwave, and he can also investigate on other organizations to check what are the access to the different assets in the company. So here I can just drill down on the hierarchy of my organization. I can maybe zoom on the finance division to get some more details about this organization. So here I found out that Samantha Schwartz is the CFO, so she is the manager of the financial division. And I can check directly for these organizations what are the access of the people to all my different applications. And I can list also all the permissions that these people have. So I can get some lists like this one if I want to do some review manually, or I can get also some cross-tab reviews that allow me to, at a glance, to check for each identity here with regards to her job title and his organization. I can check all the access to the different applications that are here. So I have SAP, Elixir, etc., and all the profiles that they can use. So here I can see already I have some controls that have been also implemented, and I can see already that Jenna Lambert has some over allocations. So she has some access rights to SAP that she shouldn't have, as I can see here in red. So I can also connect as Samantha Schwartz directly, who is the manager of the financial division. And she will, as manager, so she will have the same information as Jamie, so she will see directly what are her access to the different applications and unstructured data. And she also will have a kind of overview on all her organization members, so she can directly focus on Jenna Lambert and check her access. And for SAP, for example, she can ask for removal if the access is not good. So when doing this action, automatically a ticket will be created in ServiceNow in order to use all the workflow to remove the different access. So you can also have, she can also have some cross-tab review here, cross-tab information, and she can build her own cross-tab, for instance, on application, and get for one applications and permissions all the access in the different sub-organizations, the sub-financial organizations, like here, and she can check what are the people who have access to these different applications. So when we go back on GDPR, in fact, we will directly import also the processing activity registry. So you will also have some dashboards that will list in Brown GRC all the processing activities that have been registered in the ServiceNow. And for each one, you will get all the identities, the organizations that have access to these processing activities. And you can just zoom on one of them to investigate. And here I have just zoom on the event, which has been entered into ServiceNow. So I can retrieve here the data controller. I have directly the link here to the ServiceNow registry for this processing activity. So I can at any time just check the status of my processing activity in ServiceNow. And I've got all the information about who are the people who can access to these processing activities, who are the organizations, the applications, and shared folders that are linked to these processing activities. So as we have already seen, you can also make a kind of review on this access. So here I have a cross table on the unstructured data access. And I can see here all my identities that can access to the processing activities because they have access to these 3 shared folders. And for each access, I can validate or directly ask for revocations if it's not normal. And then I can submit my request to create automatically the related tickets into ServiceNow. So this is one way to do some reviews on who can access to my processing activities. Then you can also use the workflow engine in order to automate and orchestrate processing activities through your lines reviews. Sorry, through your lines of business. Okay, so I just need to go back here. Okay, so I'm just connecting as Jamie Robertson, and I will use the campaign manager that allow me to configure and execute and schedule reviews of the access to my processing activities. So here I have already 2 campaigns that have been configured. I can add a new one. So on my processing activities. So this one, I can configure it directly by giving it a name. Review. Here we are. So I can schedule it on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, etc. basis. Here for the demonstration, I will do it in an ad hoc mode. I can just precise a delay, a deadline. So the people will have 35 days to answer to the review. And I can also set a priority level. So here I will just take one for the demonstration, one processing activity. Let's take this one. So automatically, I will retrieve my processing activity into my campaign manager, and I will be able to launch it manually because it's an ad hoc review. So I launch the campaign, and automatically the processing activity owner will receive an email. Okay, I've got it here. That will ask her or him to review the access to the processing activities, which is here accounting services. So by clicking on the link, I don't remember, it's Amelia Taylor. So, and by connecting to the OneF GRC web portal, Amelia will be able to directly check all the identities that have access to her processing activities that she owns, and to check if the access is normal or not. So here I can see that Harvey Mason has access to these processing activities because he has an account with the profile approver 2 in the application Alixo. And I can just check and say, no, this is not normal, so I want it to be removed. Then I can also have some information on unstructured data, like this one. And I can take a decision and validate or not the access. So when I have finished, okay, I will validate it like this. I just confirm the review, and the campaign manager will receive also an email telling him that the review has been done, and so here is the email, and the campaign manager will also be able to check, in fact, the compliance reports that is automatically generated at the end of the review, and that will tell him what are the changes that have to be made regarding the access to the processing activities. So if I take back my my review, I can jump to the status page. Here is my review. So she has been done. So 26 people and 26 has been reviewed by Amelia Taylor. I can just download the compliance record, the compliance report here. Okay, so with all the changes that have been marked. So this compliance report is also dated and signed by a third party, so you can activate this this feature. And you can then, once it's done, you can then configure remediation campaigns also to automatically create all the tickets into ServiceNow in order to remediate and to apply the modification that have been asked by the processing activity owner. Okay, so using the campaign manager, you can also so you can schedule on all your processing activities these reviews automatically. So the people will connect directly to the solution. The reviewer will connect directly to the solution, so we'll have access to the same information regarding their own data. And if you have some if you have lots of reviews to conduct, you can just monitor them here using the campaign manager and check which one are already done, which one are not yet finished, like this one. You can inspect the contents to help the people to answer in read-only mode, so to help the reviewer to answer to the different questions. And for each processing activities that have been done, you can just download the compliance reports. You can also check the finalized reviews dates in order to optimize the schedule of your review campaign. Okay, so this is it for the demonstration on Brainwave GRC. Thomas, I let you. Okay, I give you back. No, it's okay. Okay, just a few words to conclude. Thomas, I let you conclude on the ServiceNow part.
Yep. So as you've seen during the demonstration of both these tools, that we are able to help you and support you get ready for GDPR compliance, making it an easy implementation and a fast implementation thanks to ServiceNow. On the first part, being a user-centric approach, using the service portal, all the workflow, reporting, approval engines, helping you get all your information centralized in one place to make sure all your employees have access and can access their information, making sure your DPO and all your team that are going to manage the data, the personal data, can do their job. You will also be able to automate approval workflows to quicken your activities, and all this being process automation driven. For the brainwave part, I will let Damien finish on this
yes.
part.
Thank you, Thomas. So yes, regarding Brainwave GRC, as you have seen, you will get all the inventory of the access rights to the people, to the assets in your company. So you will be able to link, in fact, all the processing activities parts to the real access to the different applications and unstructured data in your organization. And by doing so, you will benefit from also automated control. You will be able to automate access review campaigns, as you have seen, and you will be able also to use thousands and thousands of reports and dashboards on who can access what, is it legitimate or not, etc. So thank you. Okay, so we will just continue with some questions.
So in regards to the time, I think we will shorten up a bit the Q&A session. We've put on this slide a few questions that you may want to ask yourselves about your readiness for GDPR. We are here, Imakumo and Brainwave, to help you get ready. So don't hesitate to contact us or contact your account manager directly to schedule a meeting. We will come to you and explain to you exactly how it can be done, how fast it can be done to make sure you are compliant to GDPR on the 25th of May. So thank you very much for your participation today. As I said, don't hesitate to contact us directly. We will make a white paper available to you as well as this presentation in the coming days. Our next webinars for ServiceNow will be about CSM and Exodata. And all the information for Brainwave will also be available at the reception of the email on this webinar.
Yeah, and we will also have another webinar in Brainwave GRC regarding access review, and it will be done on the 26th of April. So don't hesitate to participate.
So this will conclude our session today. Thank you very much again for your participation. And you can contact us directly through the mails that you are seeing right now and people that you have in contact at both Brainwave and Imakumo.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you, Thomas. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, good evening, everyone.